Hello and welcome to The Journey Home. I'm Marcus Grodi, your host, and tonight we present to you guests who come to us from Stockholm, Sweden. The first is Paolo Roberto, TV host and former international boxing champion. His radical conversion was rooted in his childhood and Italian heritage, which exposed him early to the Catholic faith. Paolo, welcome to the Journey Home program. It's great to have you a part of this. This program has been going on for about 10 years. As a result of Mother Angelica's invitation to interview men and women who are converts to the church, or in your case, came back to the faith after being way out there for a while. And I think when our audience hears the stories like yours, it gives them a real encouragement for themselves as well as their family. That they, even though they've drifted way away, yet the hound of heaven will keep after them. So what I'd like to do is get out of the way and then invite you to start a bit from the beginning. Talk about your early spiritual upbringing, if you will.
Well, at the beginning I was, brought up as a Catholic. I went to church every Sunday. I went to Sunday school. I was an altar boy. I was the dream son. And I like going to church. I like being an altar boy. And I really loved my life.
You were brought up here in Sweden, right?
Stockholm, Sweden.
Sweden.
Yeah. And it was a bit strange for my, the classmates, a kid who goes to church, and because Sweden is the most secularized country in the world, so it was a bit strange. But at that time, I always loved being a different type of person. But it all changed when I came up, growing up, and got interested in girls, and I started having problems in school, and I can exactly know the moment when my life changed. I was going different, coming up, going to school with older children, and I was training already at that time.
Training for what?
I'm a boxer. Yes. I was a boxing champion and everything, and I was training then.
Did you already have your mind set in that direction in terms of those goals, or you just liked working out?
No, I was training. I was competing. At that time, I was training martial arts. I was a Swedish champion in taekwondo and kickboxing and everything. And the boxing was much later in my life. But I was going up and was starting a different grade with older kids, and they wanted to pick on me because I was, was coming from a foreign country. My father's Italian. I got the Italian name, and I was Christian, Catholic, and one of the older kids was the tough guy.
Let's go on that. That's an interesting, because you were Italian Catholic.
Yeah.
In Stockholm, Sweden.
Yeah.
That was a problem.
Yeah, there was a problem. They picked on me, and it was a strange kid, and foreign. It's always when in Sweden they talk about they have no problem with racism, and they had. One of the older kids, he punched me, and I got mad, and I trained all my life since I was 7 years old, and I punched him out really, really bad, and he was older and bigger and everything. And from that day, I was the king of the school, and from that day, my life changed. I started to hang out with tough kids with problems, going to Stockholm City, drinking, fighting, my life went to hell, literally. And I never noticed the difference of every day, but it's like it's like a scale. Every day you take a small step, and you get more into it, more criminal, more bad person. And the first time you see in a fight somebody bleed, somebody, a fellow human being feeling the pain, you feel for you feel for him, you feel bad. But if you're there many times, you have many people bleeding in front of your feet, then you notice something else, power.
Power and a little bit of fame too.
Yeah, fame. I was
in the community.
Yeah, no, but in Stockholm City, everybody knows who I was, and if they didn't know, I showed them, and the small steps into violence, into the bad life. At the end, the police ranked me as one of the 3 most dangerous men under 18 years old in Sweden.
Under 18?
Yeah, I'm stabbed 3 times. You know, I'm got shot and everything. So it's just luck, you know, God's grace that I'm alive.
Is that kind of gang life a problem in Stockholm, Sweden?
Yeah, it is.
I think I was going to say the viewers outside Sweden may not know.
No, but it is, and it's not like in America. It's not, but there is problem. You know, I'm stabbed three times. You know, I'm shot, and it's a problem. It's not the bigger problem that it's maybe in other countries, but it's a problem, and it's getting much bigger in Sweden. We've taken on many refugees with problems. You know, and all this adds up to that Sweden is one of the most. Sweden is the safest country in the world almost, but it's.
But you also mentioned one of the most secularized in the world, and the part of the result of that is going to be this kind of outbreak of violence, because of the loss of a distinction between what's right and wrong. Yeah, I mean, you had some upbringing as a choir boy and an altar boy. But that, as you said, slowly had been weaned away from your conscience because you'd.
But the other life, it's got so many rewards that it's immediate. Like this. You get famous, you get girls, you get sex, you get everything. Your money, you know, you're famous. People are afraid of you. You get power, you know. Imagine the sons for a kid that age you're coming to, and people are afraid of you. It's power. Even you have the police running here in Stockholm. They were afraid of me, and I was a young kid. It's
under 18. Yeah, that's amazing. You were that. Just curiously, was the church at all in your life during that period?
Yeah, it was actually. I think I always kept a reference to God because I'm brought up. You pray every time you go to bed. And I always prayed. It didn't mean nothing to me during that years, but I prayed, and I still had the contract with God, and I think that's important. And if you go to jail and you know you cry and you pray to God and you help me, but he was always there. You know, on the floor in a jail, you know, it's God. It's important, and I went to you know the old big Easter, and you know I went to church because you know you do that as a tradition. Not because of faith, but I always believed actually. As strangely as it may seem, I always believed in God. And actually, how I came off the street wasn't my faith. It was I found boxing.
Describe the difference between the kind of pugilism you did before versus boxing. What is the difference?
It's a big difference. If you fight in the street, the fights are very short. It's pure aggression, pure hate. It's like, and mostly if you hit the person, you know, they you don't knock them out. They feel the pain and they don't want to continue. Many people can't take the pain, but in boxing, they can take the pain. It's 12 rounds. The other guy is prepared, and he wants to fight you. It's all different story. It's not 1 round, it's 12 rounds. And you have to control. That's a thing that people don't understand. People think that boxing is aggression. It's the opposite. It's controlling aggression. You have to be a little bit aggressive. First round, a little bit aggressive. Second round, 12 rounds. You have to dose it every round. So
you also have some padding on your hands.
Yeah, yeah.
Right, you've got the gloves.
Yeah, the glove, and it's different because if you punch a guy in the face in the street, you know, it cuts and everything. But a professional glove, it's not big, so it's in the way that's different. The power in the punch is the same in the street as in the boxing. You don't get cut. That's the big difference. But you know,
now, how did you get involved with that? Because you said, on the one hand, you're being sought by the police,
yeah.
but then you have the freedom to go into boxing. Had you not developed a record such that had prevented you from the freedom of going into?
Yeah, but I've been locked up a couple of times, but not for a long time.
Right.
You know, in Sweden at that time they let young out, because I was young. They let you out, you know. And I think that's good, actually. I think if they put me into jail with older people, I wouldn't be here today. I would 100% be dead. Right. And I can see my old friends, you know, all the guys who rule the street, the mob and everything. It's my old friends, you know. They govern the underworld of Stockholm, and the rich, you know, the drugs and everything. So I would be one of them. But I found boxing, and I was a taekwondo champion, and I was they wanted to make a fight, the kickboxing champion of Sweden against the taekwondo champion of Sweden, and see who's the toughest. And I was the taekwondo champion, and another guy, Mirek, was the kickboxing champion. And I understood, because it was going to go professional rules kickboxing, that I had to learn how to box, because I could kick. But I couldn't box. And I went down to the nearest boxing club and I punched the bag a bit, and the trainer looked at me, but then he didn't give a damn, because there were two important guys who were going to fight in the next weekend who was sparring. But the next round he looked a bit and he screamed over the training facilities, "What's your weight?" And I went 69 kilos. And he went, can you be 67 Saturday? I said, yes. Then you got to fight. So I trained 3 times, and I made my first amateur fight and won that on a knockout. 1 month later.
After 3 days of training?
Yeah. And a month later, I boxed for the kickboxing championships, professional kickboxing. I was champion, and half a year after that, I was a professional boxer. And it was 10 years of my life.
10 years?
Yeah.
Wow.
I did 34 fights. Fought for the world title and everything, and it was like wrestling with my demons. The boxing, it helped me a lot, and it made me a champion. It made me famous in Sweden, and you know, it made me rich. I got money and everything, but and it took me off the street. That was important.
So the environment in the boxing world.
Yeah.
Was a positive one for you.
Of course. It gave me everything.
That might be a surprise to the audience.
Yeah, it gave me everything the streets could give me, except it was legal, you know. so I could, all my aggression, all my hate, because I had a lot of hate. I got a lot of aggression growing up, that bad life. You know, I had that I hated a lot of hate. And my boxing, people talk about technique and everything. I had no technique. It was pure hate. I was, you know, it was all. I'm more famous in Sweden for my title fights when I lost, because I could take a lot of punishment and turn around fights and everything. So
well, some of us are aware of the Rocky movies.
Yeah.
Is there a resemblance?
Yeah, I'm a bit of a Swedish Rocky. You know, one title fight, I broke my jaw, got the teeth punched out, broke my nose, broke a rib, got 20 stitches in my face, but I didn't go down. I lost it. But,
Rocky.
Yeah. But getting famous, getting money, in the end, it was something missing in my life.
See, I was wondering, you had said, you know, the boxing environment was a positive move.
Yeah.
So
it saved me.
It makes it legal, but it doesn't protect you from the power, the prestige, the prosperity. There's still that there, which can be that demon.
Yeah.
That demon of self-centeredness, power, you're top of the world.
Yeah.
So you were there, right? I mean, you had experienced all that.
Yeah, and I was didn't change much. I was still a bastard, actually. You know, I was bad against people, and you know, I was a bad person. But I didn't fight in the street. You know,
you had a controlled environment for that expression.
Yeah. But you know, I had a lot of women. You know, I was a gigolo, and you know, everything. Except punching people in the face. I was punching people in the face in the ring now, so it saved me from that. But something was missing for me to be a whole person, because I had still big wounds in my soul, you know, that I needed to heal. I was.
How'd you start becoming aware of that?
No, but I felt it. You know, if you're top of the world, everybody wants your autograph. You know, say, "Hey, champ," you know, but I wasn't really happy. Something was missing. I was standing there, so look, I'm television. I also made 2 films. I starred in 2 films. You know, I went. Why am I not happy? This is happiness. If you read in the book, you made it. You're the champ. You live in a big house. You get everything. Drive an expensive car. You got beautiful girlfriends. Not one. You got girlfriends. What's missing? Actually, you know, I went to Catholic school when I was a kid. I understood, of course, it's the soul. So I started to read about Buddhism. You know, it's interesting, but it was nothing for me. You know, meditating. I started with yoga, but it didn't heal my soul. And I was with a girlfriend in Rome. I invited her, you know, I'm a flashy guy, and I took her to Rome, and we lived in a big fancy hotel. And I, you know, you have to, if you're in Rome, you have to go to see St. Peter's. And I got St. Michael tattooed on my back, a big tattoo. When he
tell your audience, I mean, that was not as a result of going to Rome. You had done that.
Yeah, I did it because it looks tough, you know. I was fighting in America a lot, and I saw all the Mexicans, they got religious tattoos, and I wanted to look tough. And I said, I'm a bit Catholic too, you know. I was an altar boy when I was young. So I made the tattoo, and I found it in a book. And I know that it was a drawing from St. Peter's. So we were going there, and we looked at all the things, and I said, we got to see the big, and it's St. Michael's altar. And we went there, and it was, you couldn't go there. There was people saying, no, stop, you can't come. I said, well, what can those people go? They're going to confession. I said, well, and I looked at this big painting, and I saw actually, he looked at me, St. Michael, he looked at me, and I just felt it. And I said, then I'm going to confession too. And I went in, and I don't know how many hours I was with there, you know, with a long time. And it was very, very good, the priest who took my confession. He understood Sweden. He understood that we had, you know, the free sex and everything, you know, in Sweden. And we're a very secularized country. And he understood me, and we talked and talked and talked. And I confessed all my sins, and when I came out, I was clean. I washed my soul, and I was crying big times. And Italy is a good country actually to cry. And everywhere where you're crying, it's a big fat lady who wants to give you a hug. So they go, good, bene. There was a lady. And from that day, I'm going to church. And the girlfriend who was there, she's my wife now.
Did you continue boxing after that?
Yeah. I continued boxing. I was a champion, but something healed in my soul. I got civilized. My wife got pregnant, and I was going to be a father. And I think I was happy for the first time in my life. And then you shouldn't box. Because some people maybe box on technique, and I box on pure hate. And if you box on pure hate, being happy doesn't work. I defended my title. Me and my wife decided this is the last fight, and I fought the Argentinian champion, and it's an easy fight for me. You know, it was nothing. And I jabbed, and I felt this fight's going to go easy, and that's the last thing I remember. Next time I was sitting in the locker room, and I couldn't understand what happened. I said, "What happened? You got knocked out?" I said, but I couldn't. You know, I did all these fights. You know, my technique was, you know, people hitting themselves tied on my head. You know, but from that day, but I actually didn't feel sorry. I lost my title, and you know,
your heart was different now.
My heart was different, and you know, I continued my new life. You know, I work in television now, and
tell the audience, what do you do now with your life?
I do a lot. I have 3 companies, quite big. I'm Northern Europe's biggest fight promoter. I work in Sweden's biggest channel, Channel 4. And I write cookbooks. I'm Sweden's most sold cookbook writer.
Is that right?
Yeah, you can imagine that when I was 18 years old. Tell my friends, you know, the bad guys, I'm going to be a cookbook writer. Punch me out. And I mostly work on television with sports shows, but now I'm doing a cooking show. I'm going down now tomorrow actually to cook with my aunts. So it's coming next in a couple of months.
You know, I'm wondering, there might be families out there that have young people caught up in that stuff. Yeah. What do you say to the family?
I think it's many people go, my son got problems, what can I do? But it has to start much more sooner. You have to give them a foundation to stand on. Because when I decided that that's the difference with me, and my friends are dead now or in jail, and you know, I had a foundation. It was my Christian belief and my family. I had something to stand on when I wanted to step off. But what if you're like 25, 26, 30 years old, and you're living is beating up people, doing robberies, and you know, what can you do? What's the alternative? Nothing. So it's a big fight, you know, to turn your life around.
Especially when you're in a culture, as you say, that's so secularized. There's a lot of voices out there. Yeah. From the outside as well as within. Yeah. And if they don't have a good, clear voice about their faith, then pretty soon whatever voice is there about the faith gets drowned out by all those other voices, you know, like the voice of violence, the voice of self-centeredness, the voice of lust, and all those things which you experience.
Yeah, but Sweden's got big problems. We're the most secularized country in the world. We're also the healthiest country in the world. You know, Swedes are real Vikings. But the Swedes are the most sickly people in the world, and everybody goes in Sweden.
Soul, right?
Yeah, people go, what's wrong? We're healthy, but everybody's sick. What's the problem? I can tell you what's the problem is. Sweden, they're not sick. The souls are hurting. That's the problem. You got nothing to live for. Well, if you don't have a God, if you don't have a purpose with your life, what should you live for? Of course you're going to get depressed. What can you buy? A new TV set, a new car. It's not going to make you happy. And Sweden is the example. It's the rich country, very, very developed, you know, but people are unhappy.
And your own example of having reached everything is the example of people trying to seek meaning in life apart from God. And then sometime God will let you go for a while. Yeah. And then touch you in the midst of that, which is what he did in your own conscience. Yeah. Touched you and helped you know that you were missing something. Paolo, thank you so much for sharing your journey. It's a good challenge to us, because I know that there are young people that will be watching, or families out there watching, that their kids are getting pulled away into these other voices. Yeah. And your witness is a powerful witness to them. Yeah. So thank you so much for joining us on the journey home. And your cooking show, your cooking books, and your other programs, that's neat to see how God is using your witness here in this culture in a variety of different ways. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I thank you for joining us on this special episode of The Journey Home from Stockholm. God bless you. Welcome back to this Journey Home Scandinavian episode, taped in Stockholm, Sweden. We turn now to Ulf Silfverling, science teacher and editor for Katolsk Obsevatör, a Catholic newspaper in the diocese. He and his family were also instrumental in providing ongoing help and information that helped make this program possible. Ulf, welcome to the Journey Home. It's great to get to know you and to have you as a guest. And I wanted to take the time also to thank you and your wife. What was your wife's name again?
Asai.
Asai. That's right. Asai, for such fine hospitality, providing the meals for us as we tape these sessions here in Stockholm. I'd like to invite you, as I do most of my guests, to begin the program by giving us a little summary of your spiritual background.
Thank you. It's an honor for us to receive you in Stockholm, this distant corner of the world.
Oh, thank you.
With around maybe 65 or 85,000 Catholics. So,
and it's a growing number here in Sweden.
It's
right?
a growing, but converts are not contributing that much, around 70 or 100 a year. But we have, of course, a lot of immigrants coming, and now from Iraq, Chaldean Catholics, many. But I didn't know anything about that during when I was brought up, because I was brought up in a very normal Swedish family with 3 brothers. My father was caretaker in big farms south of Stockholm, and my mother was teacher. I wasn't brought up in any religious special way at all, except normal, and that is to pray in the evening and maybe visit the church when during Christmas. So, but it was one thing my parents gave us, and that was don't lie. So the truth, to lie was the worst thing you could do at home. And that, I think, has really, me and my brothers, we have very hard to lie to each other and to other people.
Well, that's a good gift,
Yeah.
Even though they didn't practice the faith, like you said, very actively, but yet gleaned from the faith, golden rule, and the importance of truth.
Yeah.
So that was a good gift they gave you upbringing. So Christmas and Easter, though, was your main attendance, right? Is that common amongst
Easter, no.
Swede Lutheran?
Christmas, yes. Easter, no. Easter is just 3 days for Swedish people.
Well, interesting. Why? Yeah, that's interesting. Just the Easter holiday. Did the Lutheran Church here in Sweden, after it broke from the Catholic Church during the Reformation, did it also break away from the Catholic celebrations?
Yes, a lot. We have actually some small remainings, what you should say. For example, in my home, we had fish Friday. And that's maybe something from the Catholic time. I don't know.
Well, it might be that fish is one of the biggest markets in Sweden, right? It's one of your primary products, so it's good to support fish on Friday. But that's great. So what about your catechesis growing up? Did you learn your faith very strongly?
Oh, no, nothing, actually. I went to Sunday school, but it was this, very fundamental things that they talk about God. We didn't pray. I don't think we prayed or did things like that. I was in the choir in the old medieval church in our village. I don't know what I had from that, but question about faith and about religion came later on in high school when we were some friends, some boys, very interested in ideas and in science, and to discuss. We read a lot, Dostoevsky, all the novels, philosophy. And of course, if you deal with philosophy and history, you have to deal with religion sooner or later, and with the church and with Christ. Sooner or later you have to. And it came to a point where one of my friends, he came up to me, I was maybe 25 years old or something like that, with a creed. And he said, he read the first sentence and said, yes or no? What are you doing? I said. You cannot expect me to say that now. Of course, you are now a grown-up intellectual man. You have to have some opinion about this. And then he started to read next sentence. Yes or no? You cannot do that to me. This is private. It's not private, he said. So that was the start point, actually. And then I asked myself, do I believe in God? Yes. And his son, Jesus Christ? Oh, much harder. So, and then I started to think, and then I came to that point. Yes, I believe in God, the Creator, and His Son. But what about church? Well, I belong to the Lutheran Church. I'm baptized there. I stay there. But I never go to church. Should I start to go to church? Okay, I start. So I started. I had no experience, supernatural, nothing. And I went to the Lutheran Church during Sundays. It was quite boring, actually, because what I saw was people who were passive. They were sitting, listening, and I was also sitting and listening. And then I started to read the whole history of the church and the controversial theology, Luther, everything. I tried to save Luther. I was really fighting for him. I tried. I gave him a chance. Yes, of course, because that was my church.
Right.
Against my Catholic friends, because two of my friends became Catholics independent of each other from the same class from school. And I thought, something's happening here. I have to defend myself and defend my Lutheran faith, which I didn't even had acquainted from the beginning. So I tried.
So you're having to learn your faith in your 20s,
yes,
so you can defend it against your Catholic friends.
Yes. Exactly.
That's great.
But to solve something that they haven't done in 500 years, and I should do it myself, it was very hard. So, of course, you hit the wall sometime, and then I did so. And I went out I traveled a lot. I came to Spain. I made the whole Spanish peninsula walking, more or less. And I came to...
you did the pilgrimage in Spain?
No, part of it.
Oh, okay.
But I visited many Roman churches and these old portals with the figures, and it was something in the faces of all these Romanesque sculptures that attracted me, and I said to myself, this is the European spirit, this is something, I want to be like that. I saw something there that maybe was lost here, and I also met people who had this sense of human weakness. Especially I remember one scene from Sevilla. I came there Semana Santa, and practically from Sweden to Semana Santa, Sevilla, And it was a procession, and they stopped, and someone singing very, these tragical songs for Christ and the cross. And it was a man standing next to me, a good suit and so on, and he was crying, and he took up his handkerchief, really crying, and they are very religious, I thought. And then he took up a big cigar like that, put it in his mouth and lit the cigar and really enjoyed the cigar and continued to cry. And to me, why do I tell you that? Because it was against what I have learned about religion. Religion is church. It's someone, some religious feelings and so on. And the other thing, the cigar is a world, but not the two things at the same time. No, impossible. And then I thought maybe I had to learn something from this culture, which actually is the European culture, the Christian European culture. And then I started to
smoke cigars. No.
Later on, not that.
But you started examining this aspect of your own Catholic history that had been left pushed out.
That's right.
Here in Sweden. So really seeing it there in Spain was a confirmation to what you were experiencing back at home. Did that bring about your conversion to the Catholic Church down there in Spain, or what were the
it came later.
Okay.
Because I tried to solve that Lutheran thing, but I didn't. So I started to go here in the cathedral where we are, next house here, incognito, last row, every Sunday almost, without being Catholic. I was just there, just presented myself there, because I thought I cannot solve this anymore, and I will just be here and see what they are doing. So 1.5 years I went, and but I didn't have any, angel coming to me. You must become Catholic. No experience, no supernatural experience, nothing. And then this was 84 maybe, and then I was invited to a friend to a retreat, the first in my life. It was when Opus Dei came to Sweden, their first retreat in an ordinary villa. It was quite horrible, actually. Ordinary villa south of Stockholm. And then, of course, 4 days in silence, it creates a lot of thinking. And I asked God, should I become Catholic? But he didn't answer. Silence. So what to do? Because now I have been, every Sunday, 1.5 years, studying, trying to solve the Lutheran things. No answer, nothing. And then I remembered a sentence from St. Augustine when he said, if you don't have the faith, see that you will have the faith. Do something so that you will have the faith. Don't just wait for it. So I said to myself, okay, no answer from there or from there. I decide I will become a Catholic, and I went to the priest and asked him and so on. And he said, well, so on. But anyhow, then I had made a step. And I went out for a walk in the forest. We had just 1 hour between the meditations. And then the sun came through the clouds down and lit a small thing in front of me, and suddenly the nature became so beautiful. I'd never seen it like that. And it was a whole weekend like that. So no, he didn't say anything, but at least he confirmed.
Yeah, you knew that went. Sometimes I think God speaks to us in ways that when we tell other people about it, they may not appreciate it as much as we appreciate it, because we knew that was God speaking to us. Sometimes I lose something, and Lord, help me find it, and I found it, and I know He helped me. I know He did. I can't explain it to anybody else, but I know. And what you're saying is that moment of that shaft of light, you knew was a confirmation from God, Him responding to your thinking about becoming Catholic in that way. And that was on that retreat that you're on still, right? Yeah. Well, was that the moment? I mean, was that the final decision, or do you have Did your family like that decision for you?
Well, they were not against it, no. Maybe they didn't understood it.
But you sensed that was your call. When you came back from the retreat from that weekend, how long was it before you were able to enter the church?
1 year, maybe. So
did you go through some RCIA training?
Yeah, I went to some further for. I just had some few questions. He said, "What should we do?" I think we start with Adam and Eve, and then we go the whole way. I said, but we never reached further than to the second Genesis or something like that, and then we were finished. So
you were ready.
I had some questions, of course, because I had put all these questions against the church. I think I have more arguments than the Adventists against the Catholic Church, because there is also one thing that's truth. I was studying the fathers of the church and also St. Thomas, and what astonished me was that they had so firm belief in truth, so they could even put arguments themselves against their own faith. So that was very impressive to me.
That's truly Aquinas right there.
Yeah.
I mean, his whole Summa is that very thing, right?
So I'm trying to live after that now, and to me, now in my life, now truth is very important, and to try to even in my profession, to try to show people that truth is something that is. Even if someone say there is no truth, then you believe in him, and then you must believe that he tells you the truth. So that's St. Thomas also.
This journey of faith for you, which you describe as more intellectual than experiential, but would make sense for you. I mean, you're a scientist, right? You teach science.
Yeah.
How did you find that as a part of your journey to the Catholic Church? Was there a contradictory challenge for you as a man of science as you were drawn to the faith? Did you find that a problem?
No. I had problems with colleagues when I was doing some research in genetics, but not with science itself, because I see it in the same tradition as Albertus Magnus and St. Thomas, a search for truth. I mean, without the Christian philosophy and the belief that truth is, we shouldn't have any science at all. We shouldn't have any Nobel Prizes. So to me, it's a bit strange, this campaign against religion from the scientific side. It's very strange.
I mean, really, the history of science was essentially a search for the fingerprints of God. I mean, that's what science was. It used to be. That's how it started, to see how God did things, to understand that. And, of course, now modern science make a divorce between God as the creator and the sciences. And what you're saying is that in your own search, you recognize that faith and reason go together, like our wonderful Holy Fathers have said very recently. What are you doing now that you're Catholic in the service of your church?
Well, when I celebrated my 50th birthday, I said to the guests that now I have to do something for the church, because I've received so very much. So I'm trying to run a web magazine called Katolsk Obsevatör, which is like a fairy tale, but we try to distribute texts, translated texts mainly from the Pope, but also from other writers, from other sources, even fathers of the church and older articles. And I'm involved in many things here. And sometimes you have means but no ideas, and sometimes you have ideas but no means. So I'm also in a foundation that has a big, fantastic villa donated to us. And we don't know exactly what to do with it, and that's very strange. So sometimes you have something but not the thing to do with it, and sometimes you have ideas and no means. But I'm trying really to use my talents to distribute thoughts. I think that's what I'm doing now.
Do you now? Is it you teach biology?
Yes.
Right. That's particularly the area of science, biology, where most of the controversies arise today.
Oh yes.
Does that come up in your classes?
Every week, yes. Yes, especially from my colleagues. But and they are really surprised by my how I can put these two things together to believe in the Creator and at the same time to learn evolution. They say, you cannot say Creator to the students. Why not? Maybe they think you are a creationist. You know, that the world has been created in 7 days and so on, 6 days. But I say, I am actually, because I am a Catholic and I believe that the world was created, of course, and nobody can take that from me. But how it was created, well, that's another story. So,
yeah, we look in science, we look at evidence, but I mean, isn't it amazing that Darwinists almost speak of natural selection as if it's a god?
Oh yes, it's an agent doing things. Darwin, he talks about natural selection as an agent, dynamic forces and things, the strategy of evolution, things like that. So it's contradictory, it is.
So they find it hard for us to believe in a God, but they don't challenge their own absurd beliefs in this agent. Well, what's this agent? You know, or people even talk about Mother Nature as if it's a being, but deny the reality of God. Yeah, you know, they're trying to put it somewhere else, a purpose somewhere else. Are you seeing in your work then in Sweden, of the scientists, do you see any openness towards the faith in Sweden? Do you see that in a good direction?
I can see it within among my students sometimes. Scientists, I haven't seen very much.
It's hard there because it's their reputation, it's their position, it's tenure, right? I mean, they've got a lot of issues, and in some ways it's sad. It locks them in to a constricted environment where they really aren't free to examine the reality of God.
But at the same time, you have a lot of Jewish scientists, you have Muslims, and how they do, because they are more fundamental than we Catholics are. Nobody asks about that question. So that's a bit strange to me. But I admiring really the scientific work, and I'm not against science. To me, it shows the mystery of the creation, and for everything we have figured out, we have 5,000 new questions.
That's right.
So the miracle is every day. Actually, we talk about miracles, but it is every day. Life is a miracle, and
I mean, the fact that you and I are sitting here with our hearts beating, continuing to beat all the years that we live, that is a miracle. We couldn't make our ability to try and make something to duplicate the heart is so difficult to do that. But we have this simple organism that God has created, and if we can see the joy of that, then that's really appreciating science the way it was intended to be appreciated, rather than as humanity patting ourselves on the back for how smart we are. I mean, that's absurd. It's really God. Everything we have is of God.
It's not a threat towards science, but some people, they think it is.
In your web magazine that you translate, have you translated John Paul's wonderful encyclical on faith and reason?
I think, yes. Well, I think so. But mainly we have Benedict's texts and his wonderful thinking, clear thinking.
Yeah.
We try to put it in Swedish language. So
that's a great service.
Yeah.
That's a great service. Well, Ulf, thank you so much for joining us on the journey home, for sharing your journey with the audience, and I think particularly your commitment to recognize the relationship between faith and reason and science, and our faith is not a contradiction, but very much a part of our Catholic faith, a search for truth. I mean, that's what we're all about. So thank you. And also, again, thank you and your wife for your hospitality.
Thank you for coming here, and I hope you have a nice time in Stockholm and discover our beautiful city here.
All right. Thank you, Ulf. And thank you for joining us on this episode of The Journey Home. God bless you. Look forward to being with you again.